Bell in that slot, Jordan Howard in the next one, and we go a little cheaper on quarterback or tight end, then we can still.
Let me throw two out there. Was that your running back call? Did you have a sleeper running back or anything you wanted to add to that?
Not necessarily a sleeper. Like I said, Devonta Freeman and Howard are my two, but I also like Melvin Gordon. So those are the three that I really like. Again, combination of results and value. Do I think Le'Veon Bell maybe have a better game? Possibly, but all things considered, with the strength of the Jets' run defense and his cost, I like these guys a little better.
I dig it. I gotcha. And keep in mind, too, we're talking FanDuel, but if you're playing in DraftKings now, we picked out 3 running backs. Mike gave us 3 running backs there. Feel free to plug one of those guys in as a valuable flex player on DraftKings as well. I want to throw a couple running backs at you that I like a lot this week.
Sure.
Terrence West being one of them.
I do like him as well. The only thing I'm worried about him competing with rushes with Dixon, but they say they're going to get him along slowly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. Washington is a horrible on the ground.
They haven't stopped anybody. So
touchdowns. Like I said, in order for Baltimore to set up the pass, they need to really rely on their strength of the run. So I think they're going to be able to do it. So, yeah, I like him. He's actually, and I do have him on two lineups today going in my personal FanDuels. I like him because certainly his value, and I think he'll get 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and I'm not too worried about the Dixon kid, unless, somebody gets in and gets a hot hand. But I like Baltimore to really beat up Washington as well. Baltimore coming off a loss. Washington snuck one out in Cleveland on a phantom fumble call that I still don't understand what happened. But another running back I like is, oddly enough, I like Isaiah Crowell this week against New England.
Okay. I don't not like him. Again, I'm always worried about anyone against New England. Now, we saw them get their butts handed to them the other day, but it was kind of like you almost saw it coming, given all things.
Yeah.
But there's so much – Cleveland is so reliant on their run game, and we saw that they're not smart enough, and this brings up a good point that I wanted to discuss briefly about how inefficiently they used Terrell Pryor last week. So
yeah, it was a big disappointment.
It was. He still had a decent day, double digit, but – I expected him to put his hands on the ball in the quarterback position at least 10 snaps. That didn't happen at once.
No, I was under the impression that Hugh Jackson kind of outthought himself in that game plan.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he really should have tried to reproduce the same game plan from the week before, because that gives them their best offensive anyway chance to win.
And he outthought himself on that.
So again, thinking back with that, I don't know if their usage is going to be too creative with Crowell, and I think it might be able to be shut down because we know, again, they're going against New England. So
yeah, it could be a blowout, but oddly enough, I think Brady might come back. I think you can probably compare Tom Brady and Le'Veon Bell with Le'Veon Bell took 0 time to get warmed up. It looked like he was pretty lubricated as soon as he hit the field the other night. I have a feeling that Brady is a passer. If this is going to take a few throws, he's probably going to feel well dialed in, but maybe some excitement, you're a little worked up. He's a human being. He's been like that before. Maybe Brady takes a minute to get revved up. I'm sure by the second half he should be just fine. But I can see Cleveland wanting to try to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. I would think Crowell is going to get some touches and looks. This might be a week, and we'll get into Terrell Pryor when we get into the next chapter of wide receivers. But as far as the Cleveland game goes, I don't think they have a shot in hell of beating New England, especially with Tom Brady back. But offensively, they're going to run. They're going to play. They're going to compete. This team's shown, if nothing else, that they're going to compete. They're not laying down for anybody. They're losing games, but I think Hugh Jackson's done a tremendous job. If they were shitty, they'd be getting blown out by 40 points. So I'm not afraid of Isaiah Crowell. And I did have another running back as a real dark horse sleeper, just to point out. Latavius Murray, as I suspected, is not going to make it through this season. The Raiders weren't in love with him last year. They are out of love with him now. He's got a foot injury that the whispers are it's turf toe. If it's turf toe, you can probably shut him down for 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe longer. It's painful. It lingers. It won't go away. Don't be afraid of guys like DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard. They may be real underproducers this week, but to pick them up and house them for a week and see if one of them pops, it might be worth your time. I don't know about DFS this week, but just watch their value because they're dirt cheap.
Yeah, no, I thought of the same thing, and I just want to see which one emerges as the guy, especially, obviously, in daily fantasy. I want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, they're really inexpensive, so
your advice
I'm actually looking for prices now.
Yeah, definitely well taken.
Yeah, 4,700 and 4,900, and that's pretty inexpensive for a running back that could potentially start and see 20 touches in a game. So don't leave those guys out of the mix. Guys like Derrick Henry, though, I want to talk about some running backs who I'm just not interested in at all. A guy like Derrick Henry is so overpriced at $5,200 in FanDuel.
Yeah,
but
and I have
that kind of guy that could just blow up and have a huge day on accident.
Yeah, no, he's not. They're not even getting usage. It's weird. Sometimes they put at least for the 1 o'clock main games, those are done by, Sunday they're working on them.
Right.
So a lot of times results that, not in this specific case, but results that may happen Sunday night or Monday don't make it to affect the price of the player the next week. But some of them are just, they don't make any sense. It's like they break down the top players and then they just start throwing. That's why it's imperative that when you're trying to make a lineup, go all the way down and scroll all the way, and you never know when you'll see somebody who's $4,500 because everybody else is hurt. Or
you're right. You got to do the due diligence and just dig through and keep your eyes open. Guys like Derrick Henry jump out at me though. I mean, I think he did. I'm reading it now. Here it is. He had seven carries last week for 24 yards. Just not getting him involved.
No, and DeMarco Murray is going off to where
DeMarco Murray's been tremendous.
Something like that to worry about.
In a regular season fantasy draft in your standard leagues, if we're drafting over again, DeMarco Murray's going top 5.
Yeah, he should.
He's going top 5.
I'm glad I drafted him because my thinking was he was overused in Dallas, but then he had a year to rest.
Little time off.
And now he's got a huge chip on his shoulders, and he's still pretty young enough that he's got a year or two left.
And that's an improving team in Tennessee. They're really improving.
Yeah, they are, and again, their offense runs through their ground game. So
sure, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not wowed by Marcus Mariota. I really want to be, but I'm not.
No,
I'm not wowed by him. He's still got another year to see whether or not he's going to get settled. By his third year, he should start being very, very good, or it's not going to work. Just
yeah, and they really need a wide receiver too. They can't rely on Delaney Walker.
You're right. They don't have enough help there, and he's very good. He's got a nice rapport with Delaney Walker. You're exactly right. I'm too harsh on the kid. Sorry.
No, but somewhat well-deserving. I mean, Jameis only has basically one wide receiver now. Vincent Jackson is done. So, and but Jameis tried to do too much where Mariota knows probably just to sit back and
yeah, there's some definite regression issues in on Saturday when we get into the pick game. That's something we'll get into because I'm actually fired up about the Buccaneers situation. I don't know, but I'm going to save all that for Saturday. I've got some stuff to talk about. Any other running backs that you feel are stayaways, especially some high priced? I mean, DeMarco Murray is one we just mentioned. He's got a nice matchup in Miami, but that's going to be in one of those if they play situations.
Yeah.
That game is in Miami. The NFL is going to have to make a decision tonight where they're going to play that game, and I'll bet your ass they're just going to move it to Tennessee.
Yeah, that would be smart.
Yeah, I mean, look, they can't postpone it. Say it again?
I said they don't have a choice.
No, they cannot postpone the game. The game has to be played. Now, the only other thing they could do is they could say we're going to move it to Monday night, which that wouldn't be the first time they've done that. But the problem with moving it to Monday night is you don't know if there's going to be a stadium there. You don't know if there's going to be anybody to go. I think in all likelihood. And then, you got a team like Tennessee that's going to have to fly in Sunday morning. They're going to have to make an adjustment, but hopefully everything is fine and it's just a little wet. But they may not be able to get to I'm not familiar with where Sun Life Stadium is. I don't think it's coastal. I think it is. It's more in a more urban area. So, but I've never been there. But I would just be curious, and that's just something that, if you're getting ready to do your DFSs out there, watch out, pay attention to this game, especially if you're not in the southeastern United States. You may not be hearing a lot about what's going on in Florida. So make sure you check it out. But that takes DeMarco Murray out of my equation just because I have no idea if that game's even going to get played.
Yeah, that's true. I have him in my standard league, and I obviously have no choice. I have to start him. But
do you fade, stay away from Ezekiel Elliott this week? They're at home against Cincinnati.
Yeah, he's pretty expensive.
Yeah,
again,
7,900.
There's a lot of good running back matchups per se, or guys that will probably do pretty well. So again, stay away from. There's not too many that I don't like. Obviously, I don't like Lamar Miller this week.
No, nor should you. Neither does the end zone.
I don't know. He's kind of busting out, if you ask me.
He hadn't found the end zone yet. It's week 5.
Don't know if I really like Todd Gurley. We'll see. He's kind of, to and fro.
Sure.
Buffalo's pretty good defense.
I want to leave our listeners with this on the running back category. There's a running back that I feel does not get the respect he reserves as a talent, just as a player all around. But if you saw any bit of that Buffalo-New England game last week, LaShawn McCoy is fantastic.
He's the man. We forget he's the awesome in fantasy 4 or 5 years ago. Top 2, top 3 running back for 4 years in a row.
I don't know why he is overlooked as often as he is when you start talking about great running backs in the NFL. He is great. If you put him on a great team, he is super dangerous. He's on a very average team in Buffalo with middle-of-the-road quarterback play. LaShawn McCoy takes over ball games as a running back. It's impressive.
Yeah, he does. I think people forget we have short memories, and since he was hurt last year, he didn't do too well. And so you kind of forget, and he's going off again. So
yeah, I mean, he might not be putting up the hugest numbers, but he's got 3 touchdowns on the ground. He finds the end zone. He's caught 1, I believe. But he's a guy he's got probably close to 20 catches. He's great out of the backfield. He is a good football player. This guy gets overlooked as one of the better running backs in the league. And every year I kick myself by week 4 or 5 going, why don't you ever draft Shady? Why don't you ever do that? And I have in years past, and when I have, I've always been happy with his output. And I always remind myself how great I think he is, and then I just forget. I'm terrible at this. Just terrible. But
yeah, there's back to your picks.
Where do you want to head off to now? You want to talk some wide receiver, or you want to take a peek at quarterbacks?
We could do quarterbacks real quickly
sure.
Because you kind of talked about.
We're only starting one of those.
Yeah, exactly. I have a few that I like. The first one is pretty simple. I think Tom Brady is going to go off. I don't think he's going to be rusty. I don't think I've ever seen him be rusty, coming back from an injury or anything. And
no, this is. I think Le'Veon Bell taught us a lesson about guys coming back from suspension. We touched on it a little bit last night when you have guys like Gronkowski coming off of a hamstring injury. You don't want to draft him in your standard league. Not in the first round. I don't want to touch him because he's hurt. You never know how long that's going to linger. But a suspension, that's a little different. These guys just sitting around getting healthy.
Well, look, exactly. And this is more than just a suspension. Tom Brady wasn't doping it up. He's pissed off. And
that's right.
And their team is so diverse that's why I really like their offense, because you don't know who to cover. Last week, Atlanta had a huge game out of Julio Jones. Does anyone reasonably think they're going to do that again in Denver? I don't. But do I think that Tom Brady is still going to be successful? Yeah, because I can name 4 different guys who are going to catch the ball that could get 100 yards and a touchdown. Because Gronk is going to be out there, but he's hurt. He's still going to be, a diversion, if you will. So I like Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, he played as a decoy. I love Bennett.
But I like him. You got Amendola. You got Hogan. And then, obviously, Edelman. So I think Tom Brady's going to have 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
So at $8,700, he's somebody that you're saving up for, if you will.
Yeah. If I'm doing 5 lineups, I'd like to do maybe 2. Tom Brady, or at least certainly 1, and then we went cheaper on running backs. And so Edelman is cheap, and not to jump to our our wide receivers, but to make this sense. So now I can make the connection. Okay, well, I'm going to have
Edelman did show up on an injury report today, FYI.
Yeah, he did, and I'm gonna monitor that. But I think it's because of the weight